If I am asked to parse this paragraph, unless I'm convinced between now and the time I'm required to do that, I am pretty well convinced to side with Mr. Deutsch on that specific issue. And if it turns out that we go into this other thing, and I'm also convinced that that Mr. Deutsch has a reasonable fear of imminent serious bodily harm, then the restrictions on Mr. Doms's activities for the next 6 months could be conceivably much more restrictive than even she's suggesting. I don't think that Ms. Levan is suggesting that Mr. Doms be prohibited from engaging in legitimate citizen business with the city, and to do that, obviously, you have to have access to City Hall or wherever else.
That's what they asked for in their complaint.
But I cannot see of any reason why Mr. Doms should have any reason to go near Mr. Deutsch or where he lives.
I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Well, I'm just sort of
right.
telling you how my preliminary feelings on the matter. Why don't we pass the case? I'm sure I have other cases, 3 more cases, and maybe you can work something out.
All right, Judge.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Ron.
John Quinn versus John 9/05/2010.
All right, what's the status of the case?
I believe we have a consent, Judge.
Excuse me.
We
Okay.
prepared something that we can have the court issue a consent order without a finding.
All right. You didn't fill anything out yet, have you?
No, we just finished.
That's fine.
Sort of hammering out what we've agreed to.
Find the old. There it is. Okay. This is without any finding of fact, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, what are the terms?
If you like, I'll say it if you
Why
don't
don't-
agree.
I'll
My
correct
client
you,
has
Ron.
agreed that all threats of violence will stop. There'll be no threats of any violence, real, imagined, or implied, involving Mr. Deutsch.
Mm-hmm.
That he will make an appointment with the City Hall employees. This is all during the 6-month time period here. He will make an appointment with the City Hall employees to conduct any business that he may have, so that if he has any issues with landlord, tenant, or whatever, if even if to pay a Comcast bill, he'll just call them and make an appointment, let them know when he's going to be there.
Okay.
He will have no direct communication with Mr. Deutsch or the city manager's office. He has agreed, and Ms. Levan has agreed, that if my client needs anything from the city manager's office, he will contact Ms. Levan, and I have no objection to that direct contact. And in the event that there is anything that my client is entitled to, Ms. Levan will provide whatever documents or whatever information he might need.
Okay.
There was an additional agreement, and I don't even know if you want to make it part of it. He has agreed that in the event he receives a written, I don't know that would be part of this. He's asked that it be in writing in a letter form because he's concerned that an email requesting that they be removed from his list might go into a spam filter, or it might be missed. He gets about 1,000 emails a day, he said, and he doesn't want to run there, but a letter he's going to see. So I don't know if we need to make that part of it, but he has indicated he has no objection to removing anybody from his email list that makes a request.
Let me just explain the basis for that request. In the past, there have been instances in which people have requested to be removed, and the response has been another stream of invective, and therefore, people on that list, including the city manager, are discouraged from making the request. And because part of the harassment statute includes making a request to cease and desist, I mean, people are afraid of making that request. I think it's necessary to have an agreement that he'll comply without further...
Inasmuch as it regulates Mr. Doms's conduct, how should that provision read?
That Mr. Doms agrees to remove any individual who submits a written request through the mail.
Remove the name.
An email address.
Any city individual?
Any individual.
There's one person I wanted an exception to. Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce, because they owe me a refund.
Ms. Levan, I'm not...
I think that goes beyond the
It
case.
clearly does.
But he's indicated that will not be, shouldn't be a problem, so.
Well, then I'm going to leave it to you to memorialize that agreement in the form of a letter. Here, I think Mr. Carey has a point that if it deals with anybody, potentially, they're not the subject of this petition or final order. I can deal with Mr. Doms's conduct, but not relative to a request by
And he's not going to communicate with the city manager or
Leo
his
Green
office.
Sr. or somebody like that.
Understood, Your Honor.
And I will say,
Okay.
Ms. Levan, if there's anyone on his list who works in the city manager's office, please let me know. And I'll make sure that I'll tell my client, make sure they're all removed. He's to have no contact with them. He's to only contact your office.
Agreed.
And court's indulgence.
I'd like the city manager's office to find.
Trying to think how to accommodate that.
Yeah.
Is there a city organizational chart?
Yeah.
There is a city organizational chart. I don't have it with me.
No, would you get it? Fine.
It's a published document in the budget.
In that office, I would assume that he's in.
Are the names of the individuals or just their job titles?
Job titles.
Job titles.
Right, but
We could.
the city manager, I just don't, he's concerned, you don't want it to extend like all the way down to the person who sits at the front desk when you walk in.
Right, on those people, he's gonna make an appointment to come in and see.
Yeah, but the only question, what is the city manager's office?
Right, and in terms of the people that he's agreeing not to contact at all, those would be, yes, like the people identified in the organizational chart for the city manager's office.
For the city manager's office, but that wouldn't necessarily be like the landlord tenant.
That's community services.
That's,
Right.
okay.
There's an organizational chart they're gonna get that'll list the people that work under the city manager. It wouldn't be like the landlord tenant people that get community services.